everyone, and welcome to the Sacred Rainbow Warrior. My name is Alistair McLean. Today, I'm talking about the healing journey and how that leads to love. I like doing videos on stuff that I really struggled with, which resonate with other people, to help you save time in your healing journey, so you don't have to go through the same stuff that I went through. And one of those is how overcoming loneliness by coming into solitude, which eventually leads you to love, because there's one thing, and I'm going to go into a lot of detail into all this, but what the one thing that in order to find love, the one thing that comes up that I see a lot of people doing, especially in the dating scene, I've done a video about that, is people are looking for love, they're searching for it. And when you search for it, you're not searching for love, you're searching for something to fill that love within you. So that's a really profound way to start this conversation. So let's dive into solitude versus loneliness. So first, I'm going to talk about loneliness, and then we'll talk about solitude. So loneliness originates from codependency, and I'm going to go more detail in this video about that. Um, yeah, codependency. So, like I said, if you're searching for love, then you're feeling lonely. And this comes from an emptiness inside, and this originates from so many different places. But if I were just to go straight back to the origin of where loneliness and codependency comes from, it comes from dogma. Dogma is really ancient. It's not just religion and the church. It's it's like a form of antichrist. I've done videos on this, and when I mean antichrist, like anti-love, where it puts love outside of you, where you are led to believe um, that you are not divine, and essentially, really, really deep. It, the origin of it. This is really deep. This is where it comes from. It comes from the hatred of your own humanity. So that's pretty deep going into that one. But that's if you want to get if you want to get there faster, that's where you got to heal. And this energy of dogma, where we put love outside of us instead of feeling it inside of us, creates unrequited love. And unrequited love is, and if you listen to my animal podcast, you know I base a lot of my healing on the behaviors of the light and shadows of spirit animals. And unrequited love is a shadow of the fox, where it's outcasted. If you're someone that watches anime like in Naruto, you see he's the nine-tailed fox. He gets completely outcast by his tribe his whole life. And this is what happens when you fight for love, because dogma teaches us to not believe that we're divine. And when we go against that, we feel like outcasts, black sheep, scapegoats. It happens a lot in family. You see it in families. Like my partner, Hazel, she's doing a course now called The Black Sheep for women, because she had to go through that. And it's where you stand out. And it results in because you stand out, it's because you're being loving, and a lot of people are afraid to do that, and it creates an unrequited love. And all of this leads to loneliness because you're searching for something to fill that hole, and it will show up through addictions like food, movies, drugs, sex. Sex is a big one, really big one. If you're searching for love, and this video is about attracting healthy love. So if you're searching for love, you shouldn't be how can I say searching for sex. And if you are a woman who believes that to how do I say, keep the man that you love, if you believe that you have to have sex with him to do that, then he's not for you. That's how it works. And if you're a man that um believes a woman should have sex with you before you become friends, then again think again, because I mean, there's so much toxicity around sex. I mean, I would just do a whole video on that one day, but it's so complex, and that's why I always say that when me and my partner met, we met as friends, we became best friends, And it's so much better. It's so much better because that's how true love originates. It originates from friendship, and it's more difficult to do that if you began your relationship through how do I say, like, desire, yeah, desire or lust. So through this current dating game in the collective, it's really toxic, and it's better to come into solitude and self-improvement. And this is what this whole video is about. This is what I did between each relationship. I went on a self-improvement journey, and I noticed that every time I moved on to the next relationship, it became closer and closer to what I truly desired in my heart. And I left more and more toxic behaviors behind. And the more I did in between relationships, the more years I spent on myself, the closer I came to a healthy love. So I want to talk about solitude because this is one of the ways you get there. Solitude is all about understanding, loving, and knowing your own energetic vibration. This is so important. It's so important. I wish I'd known this. It's so important. I did discover it when I was single, which is why most people, if you're one of these people where you feel happier normally, feel happier when you're single. I was one of those people, and I didn't realize what it was, but it's the energy of solitude and falling in love with yourself, which is really important. And the trick is learning how to bring that into a relationship, which we'll talk about later. So solitude is, I'm just going to use myself as an example. Solitude for me is feeling not feeling guilty for wanting to spend time on my own and really enjoying my time alone. So it might be going, I haven't done this, but I would like to do it, going camping somewhere where there's just nobody, fishing or something. That's true solitude out in nature. But more other solitude might just be having a movie night. When I've worked really hard all week, I might on a Friday night just have you know, Netflix on my own, with some nice healthy food or something. That's a form of healthy solitude and away from it all, away from people. So and what that does is you over time you start to feel like it starts to feel like a reward. You reward yourself with solitude. And that's really important because when you are in a relationship, whether you are codependent or not, before you come into a relationship, when you get to deeper cleansing with it in divine union between a man and woman, when you get to deeper cleansing and perhaps you move in together and you spend time together, um, there is always a risk of entanglement, and entanglement leads to codependency. So if you're not able to heal it on your own, which is practically impossible, then you will eventually have to heal it. So it's really important to recognize that joy that you felt in solitude so that you can bring that with you. And when you can bring it with you, you can say to your partner, and this is part of learning, part of healing, say, not tonight, I want to spend some time on my own. And that can be really difficult to say to your partner because if that partner has a wounding of abandonment, which most of us do, probably all of us. And again, I always talk about the Holy Grail video because that was when I healed the abandonment wound, which is a big deal. And when you can do that safely and lovingly in a relationship, it's incredibly powerful. And you see the most successful relationships are where the man and woman are able to spend time on their own or with their friends without feeling aggrieved by that. And if there is any kind of wounding around that, then, like I always say, there's a process of overcoming that. I'm going to do a video on how to live in divine union soon, where you basically take responsibility for that and approach each other in a sit down fashion, like over a cup of cacao, which is how it was traditionally used hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's used to overcome conflict. And you it's personal, not personal. So say, hey, my ego's feeling this. When you said you wanted to spend time alone, that really triggered a rejection in me. And I had to go through this with my partner. I felt completely rejected many times. And it was because I was rejecting myself. Can you see how that leads back to my first comment about dogma, right? It's not about her rejecting me. I'm putting my love outside of myself into that partner. This is why it's so important to do the work before you come into a relationship. I was rejecting myself, rejecting my own love by not finding that solitude. This is really profound. I hope that makes sense. But if not, just ask and I'll go into more detail. You also need solitude and time away from partners, ex-partners to heal. You need time on your own to heal those wounds. And I want to make this really apparently clear. I want to make this really clear that if you still have any attachments, and this is especially for women, if you have any attachments to exes, you're still friends with them and they're leading you on, you need to cut that off immediately. And not just energetically, you need to tell them, do it today. It will save you a lot of grief in the future. Because when something is hanging on, when you think that you have a back door in, that there's a place, some miraculous miracle, and you might come together. If that's still there, you need to sever that because you need to heal, and it's not going to happen. It's just a form of hoovering. It's just part of the cycle of narcissism, which I'm going to go into later. So it's really important to heal, spend time of your own on your own. I personally used to spend at least a couple of years, and I wasn't searching for love. This is the point I'm trying to make. When you're not searching for it, it comes to you. And if it's not your twin flame, it'll be a soulmate card that's come there karmically to teach you a lesson in more ways than one. And it's about living in your own energy and really waiting until you know it's right. And it will come through friendship. And I've spoken about this. Twin flame doesn't feel like a lover when you first meet them. It feels like your twins. So it does feel like your friends first, or brother or sister. And it's because the love is so big. It's so big. It's enormous. It's bigger than anything that you've ever seen on in a movie or anything like that. It's because it has to be felt. It's not visual. It's not visual. It has to be felt in the heart, and that's really challenging, especially for a man. Number two, self-discovery. Yeah, so I mean, this is what I'm talking about as well. Self-discovery. Let love come to you. Don't search for it. So this is I'm going to always link animal wisdom in here. This is the wisdom of the seahorse. When a seahorse in the currents, it holds on to the reeds with its what do you call it, tail, with its tail. And if the current's strong, it doesn't go out and search for food. It lets the food come to it because it trusts in the process. It trusts in love. It knows that it's going to be fed. And I learned that lesson. I remember I was down on the beach doing a meditation, and I was meditating with the seahorse, and it showed me how it grabbed onto my heart, and it was saying, "Don't let go of love." And it's talking about don't let go of my own heart. Don't search for love. And I always find this is a masculine thing, that if you are searching for a woman, you're kind of hunting, like you're hunting for sex, and it's really toxic. So a woman is attractive and magnetic. So and the masculine is the charge, right? So what happens eventually is that when you get stronger, your light gets stronger, you attract each other, and you find your way together. It's like that. I know this is a silly example, but it's like that movie, Will Smith. It's a terrible movie, but it's called Hancock, where he finds his twin flame from another lifetime, and when they get come together, they get stronger. And so she wants to be far away from him so she can live a mortal life with someone she has fallen in love with. And it's very much like that. So when you work on yourself, and what you're doing is, when you work on yourself, you're purifying yourself. Your light gets brighter, and her light's getting brighter. And what happens is, because you're twin flames, you're slowly attracted to each other. That's what happened in our case. We actually found out through many Akashic visions that we had actually walked past each other in my hometown, like at least 20 years before we met each other. It's really wild, some of the stuff that happens. So just allow the healing to happen, and it will happen in the right time. Don't rush into any relationship. Concentrate on your own healing. You'll be so happy. You'd be so much happier in yourself, and then you can bring that to someone who's also happy in yourself, and you're halfway there. It's such an incredible part of the journey to know that. It's really powerful wisdom. Um, because if you do search, like I said at the beginning, if you are searching for the ideal partner, um, I find women more look for love and men more look for sex. That's what toxic patriarchy and matriarchy has taught. And if you're doing that, you're breeding codependency, because you're searching to fill that hole, and you're also breeding dogma and unrequited love. And so there has to be this cut, this stop, and I think that's going to happen collectively as well. Because I keep talking about this, but the veil is going to be lifted soon, and it's really painful at the moment. I don't know if anybody's feeling it, but with the sabotage of what's going on in Italy at the moment, with the death of the Pope, is creating a lot of dark energy, um, because it's unrequited love and people are worshipping that. So it's pretty dark. If you're looking through it, then you've missed the point. Yeah, so I'm just reading my notes. So if you're looking for love, then you have missed the whole point, because you are love, number one, and the love that is right for you will find you. But we are taught to look for love outside of ourselves. Again, it keeps coming back to dogma. Um, oh yeah, I want to talk about masturbation briefly. It's a sensitive topic because it's got so much toxicities around it. I'll just say the obvious one: porn is a big no-no. That's horrendous. That's just, I don't even want to talk about that. It's just horrendous. Making love with yourself. We've forgotten how to do that. Um, Masturbation is toxic. If it's not done through an energy of love. I'm talking about sacred sexuality here. It's pretty advanced for this video, but a man shouldn't masturbate um, as often as men do. It should be used for creation, and so that energy of attraction or lust is actually an illusion, which is based on the lust for life. So if there's too much, like an addiction to masturbation, then there's a denial of making your dreams come true and putting that energy into making bringing about the passion in your life, not sexual passion, not romantic passion, but making, all those dreams that you really wish you could make, like writing that book, painting that painting, starting that business. That's what it's for. It's life force energy. But and I had to go through this myself, is that because of the toxic patriarchal brainwashing of sex and attraction and porn and degradation of the feminine, and so on and so on and so on, toxic masculinity, blah, blah, blah. It leads to a really upside down, inside out, back to front viewpoint of what sexual energy is. And it takes a lot of healing, a lot of purification to overcome, and no pun intended. And and if I talk about monks, for example, um, the funny thing about monks is they go into complete solitude, and they find a way of consuming and using their sexual energy to fuel their strength. So it could be used to fuel your strength, but also your consciousness, your love consciousness. But what I've always said, and I say this to my partner, is that we've done this level of healing to that level of divine awakening and consciousness in density, not at the top of a mountain or in a cave. We've done it in density. It's been incredibly difficult. And what I would find, what I believe I would find if I sat opposite a monk is I would be able to attune to his energy. But if I brought Hazel into the picture, there would be a lot of highlighted toxic shame that would show itself. So hiding from the feminine is not the point of the game. Solitude is about learning to come into your own energy. It's not about avoidance of the feminine. Because if you spend too much time on your own, there is an avoidance of and it is a fear, and it's a deeply unconscious fear. It's not something we're aware of. I had to go through this fear of death that is represented in the feminine, and this does come through la petite moi, which is in French means the little death. When a man orgasms sacredly through sacred sexuality with a woman, he dies, and it's an ego death, and the ego is afraid of dying, and so you know, a lot of people treat women badly because a lot of men, sorry, treat women badly for this reason, and it's deeply unconscious. That has to be broken. That cycle needs to be broken. So I'd I'd love to one day see how that works with a monk who spent all that time on his own and not been sat opposite a woman. I think that would bring up a lot of stuff. I really do, because there's only so much work you can do on your own. Self-discovery also is about looking at yourself in the mirror daily to understand, become aware of your own toxic cycles, your own toxic behavior. And I'm going to talk about how to do that in a minute on the next one. Um, but it's for me personally, I was just really unhappy and I wanted to do something about it. So I knew nobody was going to do anything about it for me. So I had to take action. And I realized that I had toxicities because, well, it was just obvious. You know, we're all aware of our own behavior, but sometimes we're just too ashamed to admit it. And so I took steps towards that. And it's about staying patient and being intentional with it. But I'm going to go into the different methods on how to do that now because that's really where the gold is. So number three, self-improvement and healing. So you can't find, and again, this links to number one, number two, and dogma. You can't find uh, your self-worth, your inner self-worth with external validation. It's not about finding external validation. This is why meditation is a really powerful form, which really coincides really well with solitude because you're coming deeply into your own energy and you're able to eventually really tune into your own vibration and find your own self-worth, your own value. And the externalization of that value comes from creating it. And this links back to the life force and sexual energy. In order to, when you discover your self-worth, you have to integrate it by bringing it out into reality, which means you need to create with it. So creating your dreams. And I talk about how difficult that is in the Easter video with the spirit wisdom of the rabbit. Um, Yeah, another thing to do is to learn your boundaries and your values, like I say, through spending time alone. And boundaries is such a big one. Like I think personally, if you've not been taught boundaries like I was as a kid, it's one of the most difficult lessons to learn because it normally comes with a lot of victim energy of being beaten. So if you're someone that had a violent upbringing, you may find you're either overly aggressive or overly victimized. So either outwardly aggressive or inwardly aggressive. So introvert, extrovert. I became introvertly aggressive. Even when I did martial arts for years, I really found it difficult to hit people, especially my friends, and they would just beat me to pulp. It's quite funny, but also not funny. But it's about Yeah, boundaries is a really difficult one to learn because it's about expressing your no. It's about expressing your no's and your yeses, and again learning your own energy. And it's about when does that door to your heart open and when does it close? Because if it's open to people who are taking the, who are going to take your energy and be nasty to you, then your boundary's broken. But if it's closed, but if it's open for the people who love you, then that's great. But it's supposed to close when those toxic people come back into your life, and there needs to be really strong boundaries there. Um, the best advice I can give you for integrating solitude when you're alone and when you're in a relationship is that because you've identified that energy of joy when you're in your own company, you can come back to that when it gets really tough. So, for example, if you're having going through a really rough patch, I'll talk about myself. When I'm going through a really rough patch, I have loads of different go-tos to help me get through it. And most of them are creative. So I will do music production, writing, and I have different books that I'm writing. So I'm writing different books simultaneously, drawing, I make candles, going for a walk, exercise, all of these different things, but through joy, not through something that's forced. So if you're somebody that likes going for a walk, that would be one of your joys of solitude. If you enjoy going for a run, most people don't. If you enjoy going for a run, that might be your solitude, and that would be something to fall back on, and that's integration. Because when we're going through tough, I talk about this so much, but when we're going through tough emotions and they get stuck, we have to move them out of the body, and movement and joy are really good ways of doing that. But sometimes the pressure can be too much and we can overcook ourselves. And so finding that solitude and that joy to bring us back to support us, to support yourself through moving through that is really important because it can get really tough. And so hold on to those things that bring you joy. Don't give them away. Please don't give them away. It's so important. If you're someone that really loves drawing, find gratitude in that every day. Never take it for granted. With anything you do, never take it for granted. My go-to when when shit's really hit the fan is I go to working with beeswax, make candles, really beautiful candles. And if that doesn't work, I'm screwed. So I try and find other ways to push it through, like really intense exercise, and but that's really difficult when you're really struggling on a really dark day. So find as many things as you can and keep keep them nourished. Don't just concentrate on one and leave the rest. Keep them nourished so there's the constant energy there for you to go to. So that's really good advice. What are some practical self-improvement practices while you're single? Okay, this is the good stuff. This is the really good stuff that I want to talk about. So, one of the most powerful things I ever did was a goal setting exercise. And I've got a free download. It's in the notes on I think it's my plant medicine integration download. It's not just for plant medicine, it's for any spiritual integration, for any emotional integration, right? And there's an exercise in there um, where there are certain goals you have to set, and you have to time yourself for 3 minutes, and you have to just write exactly what comes out. And I did that in 2020, I think, before I met my partner. And the goal is to have no limitations, like crazy goals that you might feel are unattainable, but are real and practical. So, like if you want to be the greatest so and so on the planet, just write that down. Don't limit yourself. And it's really bold, but it's also really cathartic. And there's goal settings on there for your career, your relationship, food, life, adventure, all these kind of things. And it's really cathartic and really powerful. I really recommend it. It's an amazing one for healing yourself and self-improvement. Also, there's the obvious of self-improvement books. I went through a really long stage of reading so many self-help books, and now I write my own. But that's also a really great way to ground yourself in your own energy is to read. I'm reading The Peaceful Warrior at the moment, which is brilliant, and the film's on YouTube actually for free. So with what's his name in it? Nick Nolte, I think. That's a really powerful movie, really good. Also, this one might sound strange to you, but it's really powerful. I highly recommend it. Is get your injuries sorted out. Physiotherapy, get them healed, sort them out. They're emotional injuries. They need to be sorted. Don't sit on them. Don't stay injured. Take care of yourself. This also links to knots. If you've got the money, get a massage. If not, self-massage. Use oil and try and do it at least once a week, if you can. I know it's very difficult if you're not used to self-nurturing your skin, but our muscles are supposed to be soft, not hard. So you need to move all that stuck energy through. Um, and give yourself the time. Make time for yourself. Nurturance. Turn off the television. Get away from the mobile phone, and keep spending more time in nature. It will quantum leap you. Uh, Another one, journaling. Journaling is so powerful. The reasons that I do it for are to, I don't do it all the time. My partner does it almost every day when she wakes up. It reminds me of what I was going through. Also, I can put it in my books. It's also when I can journal, channel write, which is how I deliver my podcast channelings. And I can glean some really powerful information for myself. And normally what happens is, but I come in such a high energy when I write it that I go, oh, that just sounds like a normal person. And then I come back to it and the next day I'm like, whoa, did I write that? That's genius. So it's what you have to realize is that when you channel journal, it's not something doesn't come in, it's you come into yourself and it feels natural. So that's a really cool tip that I learned. So I'm passing on my amazing, valuable tips to you there. Another one, psychotherapy, right? So psychotherapy is good to begin the journey, help you identify your emotions. If you don't have somebody to hold space for you, get a professional space holder. It's like I did. There's plenty out there these days. You know, if you don't have one, I can recommend you to one where people, psychotherapists now that work with you know, more open-minded, holistic, plant medicine, even stuff like that. And it's important to have someone you can speak to. I also did, there's an online talk group for men. I don't know about any women ones, but it's a free one called Men Who Talk. I've spoken about that before. That's free. So mirroring yourself against other people, getting it all out, so that when you do meet that partner, you can uh, you would have learned how to have handled yourself in conversation, how to learn how to share sensitive and vulnerable information, because it does feel more advanced when you're working with a woman than with the same sex. The biggest help for self-improvement and healing, which I think is really obvious, but it's not to people who are really going through a difficult time because it creates apathy and pity, is fitness and exercise. And not just one kind of fitness, not just running or lifting weights. You have to do the whole body. So I do calisthenics, I do running, I do TRX, I do dancing, I do static stuff, the Pilates. The more you do, the better because you're moving more energy and you're creating more flexibility, stretching as well. And to increase your fitness, your level of fitness will not only make you look better, it will make you feel better, more confident, and it will help you purify your body because the the purification process of ascension and just being genuinely healthy, soul health, mental, emotional, physical, etc., is really based on having a strong body and a strong mindset through that process of devotion and self-nurturance. And that brings about serotonin, which brings you into the body, whereas dopamine, like fast food or drugs or alcohol, or sex or scrolling brings dopamine, and that takes you into the mind. You don't want that. You have to come into the body. So do loads of somatic stuff. Meditation is somatic, but only if you are focused on the heart. If you're somebody that practices mindfulness, then you're just going to be up here all the time and out in the stars. You have to be in your body to feel your heart. And the deeper you are in your body, the deeper you'll be able to cleanse all the stuff that is being avoided. And that's really, really powerful and extremely beneficial to prepare you for the greater ascension that is coming for everyone. Another one which is linked to goals, the goal setting exercise, which is in my download on my download in the notes, is working on your career and dream growth. So growing that which you really want to create. Now I know how difficult that is to have a dream and not to be able to be afraid to make it come true or not to know how to do that. And there is a process to it, and it takes small steps. You just need a strategy. So it's the first thing you need to start with is writing down your dreams. So that goal setting exercise is really powerful. And once you've written them down, whatever comes out, now you know what your dreams are, and now you know how you what you want to fight for. And it really is a fight because when we're trying to go the opposite direction to, like I said, the outcast energy, when you're the fox and you go in the opposite direction to everyone else, there's loads of obstacles that come up. And if you want to work with me to help you overcome those obstacles, I can help with that. Um, Spiritual work. So spirituality is just for me is the go-to. I work with spirituality first, and then everything else is like the umbrella. It's like, well, spirituality is the umbrella for my whole life. And spirituality isn't about praying or religion. It's something greater than that. It's about acknowledging your divinity, your gifts, and making your dreams a reality in alignment with your heart, your soul, and love itself. It's it's really amazing when you because before I started my spiritual journey, I didn't believe in any of it. Didn't believe any of it. I was brought up in a Catholic school. I was baptized against my will when I was 1 years old, and then when I got out of that, my friends influenced me to be atheist, which is also a form of religion. And then I was agnostic, and then I just didn't know, just didn't know any of it. I didn't want to choose any of it. And then when I started my spiritual journey, I realized how all of it is just complete nonsense. And I found I found my own spirituality within me. That's the best way I can put it, I think. And there's so many other different ways of healing yourself in between relationships, but it's really important to find that structure where you can stand on your own and not rely on other people. And personally, after spending 18 years working in a toxic environment of finance, coming out and learning how to work for myself and having my own business is so much more free. It's so much more freedom, and it's so much more. Makes me so much more confident, happy. I'm able to create what I want. I'm able to do what I want. It's so much more profound if everybody followed their own dreams. There would be so much more beneficial energy flowing through the collective that eventually there'd be this giant spider web where everybody just fits in perfectly to exactly where they want to be. And that can change and evolve all the time. So it's really important to focus on that. Right, it's number four, finding happiness alone. So yeah, you may find, like I did, that you are happier on your own than when you were in a relationship. And I spoke about this earlier, but it's what it is it's acting on this prematurity of coming into an unaligned relationship, which is very easy. You might meet a really nice person, and so how do you know? And the truth is, you don't know, and you won't know. It's a process of just following your heart and your intuition, and that can be really challenging You have to follow your heart. If you're following your mind, like I say, you have to get all of that mental judgment and intoxication out and come into the body. And it's not about wobbly knees. Wobbly knees is actually fear. So if you're having wobbly knees of someone, that's a warning sign. You can ask my partner about that. She got wobbly knees about her ex, and it turned into a whole toxic thing. It's it's so much more different than that. So when you're alone in this healing process between relationships, you're finding fulfillment without a partner, and you're choosing for solitude and empowerment. And because you're empowering yourself, the more you empower yourself, the stronger you will be, and the stronger the person will be when you meet them. And it doesn't, I'm not saying don't get into a relationship. I'm saying, I was going to say think then. Feel what is right for you. Feel whether there's any doubt. If there's any doubt whatsoever, then there's going to be some toxicity. And when I say doubt, I don't mean about how they look, any judgments. I mean, does it resonate with your intuition, with your heart? With one of my ex-relationships, I had that my intuition 6 weeks in saying, get out now, get out now. And I ignored it, and I spent 4 years in that relationship. And it turned up in it ended up in just being a repetitive cycle of me going in, out, in, out, in, out. And that is just really profound advice that I can share. It's really important to listen to the intuition. Otherwise, we're just surfacing and repeating those toxicities. So number five, becoming ready to receive love. So like I said, you won't know that you're ready. That's the whole point of it. Because if you believe you're ready, and then you're not living in the unknown and you're living in the mind. You can't force love to come to you. You have to let it come to you. And when you grow your light, you will become attracted to each other. I speak about purity quite a lot. I'm devoted to it. And the each chakra has, like animals, it has its own divine higher truth. The root chakra is about the lust for life, sacral passion, solar plexus, fertility, and the heart is purity because it's a filter. So everything must go through the heart because the truth resides within the heart. Love is truth. It's pure. And so it's not an opinion, it's a higher truth. So when you purify, um, it's going to help attract to you the love that is right for you, but it's also going to, when it's pushing that energy through you, it's going to give you more clarity in your thoughts, your thought patterns. It's going to give you more clarity in your not just your cognitive abilities, but your somatic abilities about being able to feel if something is right for you or not, and being able to attune to that vibration, which is very difficult because the more you do, the more you attune to your own vibration and you pay attention to that, you can start to really tune into when your ego is drowning out your intuition. And you can try and strengthen your intuition through exercises like writing down. If you don't, if you want to do something but you're not sure what it is, an exercise might be writing down all of the different commands that you're hearing and then seeing which one brings you joy. And then you can start to ascertain which one's ego and which one's intuition. So that's one way of doing it. Friendship first, yeah. So I know how difficult this sounds, but it's really amazing if you can meet someone in friendship and not start any sexual relations. You can really start to get to know each other and build a really strong bond, and then it makes life so much easier, and you can really appreciate your journey more. And I'm going to say something really sweet that I wish I'd have done. Is take a lot of photos, even if you don't believe that you're going to be with that person. Just take a lot of photos. You will thank me big time for it. Yeah, that's really sweet. Take a lot of photos. So, Unresolved wounds, yeah. So unresolved wounds attract that. So I've said this in many videos, these toxic dynamics that if you haven't healed something, it's the law of attraction. You start to attract that. So for example, everybody talks about money, attracting money. If you're not able to attract money, then it means you have a wound somewhere or to do with poverty, a poverty mindset, or to do with receiving. And these wounds need attention. Otherwise, you're going to attract that in the next partner. So the more you can do before you meet your next partner, the easier it will be. However, I did it differently. I did it by doing as much as I could before I met her, but then things sped up and quantum leaped by working together. But it's really advanced to do that because it requires a lot of shamanic, hollow bone, no judgment, holding space kind of energy, which I'm going to do a video on. And by the way, offer guidance on that for couples or individuals. Trauma bonding, yes, trauma bonding is a big one. So if you both share the same wound, which is very common, then I had that with my ex, and it made it difficult to end the relationship because it creates this trauma bond of the narcissistic cycle where you just repeat the same programming over and over and over, and you don't grow. And if you're not growing, then there's something not right there. And a divine union essentially is a healing of separation. If your partner's not on the same journey with you and doesn't want to be on the same journey of healing separation, then you're not with the right person, unfortunately. Um, and that leads us on to breaking the cycle. Yeah, how do you break the cycles? Well, this is all about narcissism. So I'm going to say that when you understand narcissism, it will completely change your life. You'll start to see it in everything. But I have to say this, it's a really important point. Start seeing it in yourself. Don't point a finger at others. Of course, you will notice it in others, but you have to notice it in yourself. So start researching narcissism. I'm going to do tons of videos on this and probably a course online because it's so big. Because I'm writing about it as well. Because narcissism is the root of all evil. So that you have to understand the cycle of narcissism. So number one is idealization. Number two is devalue. Number three is discard. And number four is hoover. So these cycles, I've said this before, they cycle in every form of your relationship with your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your girlfriend, your friends, society, your job, your boss, everything, and internally. So this might look like when you first meet a partner, idealization. Oh, she's perfect. He's perfect. Says all the right things. They're brilliant. And then I'm just going to speak from a man's point of view because this is what I did, and this was why I was able to heal it because I took responsibility for it. Is then your own wounds start to show up, and you start to devalue yourself, which means you start to devalue the your partner. And devaluing is saying, "Oh yeah, really toxic things like, oh, you don't look so good in that. Oh, what? Why have you done that? Why are you doing that?" Really toxic things, gaslighting, stuff like that. And then it moves on to number three, which is discard, which is like, you're not good enough for me. And trying to find someone else. Men do this. They try to find another woman, or women do this as well, where they find another man. And that's the energy of discard, where the behavior is not matching up, and they're they're getting close to love in a way, close to this inner wound of love. And before it gets too close, too painful, they discard, and it's this repeating cycle. And then the when the man has had his fill, so fed from the feminine enough, then he discards her. And that triggers the abandonment wound in the masculine. This is why it's so toxic because he gets rid of her, but then he's like, oh, but oh no, but I miss her again. And I need that energy or I need that sex, whatever that is, right? And this is how it shows in these in toxic society. And so then the stage number four is hoovering, and hoovering is, oh, I really miss you. I'm really sorry. Can we get back together? And the most common process that shows in this toxicity of this relationship is Stockholm syndrome. Because if you had any self-worth, you're if a partner discarded you, you would say, okay, see you later. You've lost your chance. But what happens is that the masculine will throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink, to make you feel like they've changed. And this happens in women with toxic masculinity energy as well, because the self-righteous toxic matriarchy is a different energy. So I'm just speaking from my own experience as a masculine. Is the hoovering is super toxic because it draws you back in again, and then it just starts to cycle again back to idealization. It's like, oh yeah, you're really great, and then it goes to devalue, discard, and it just repeats, repeats, repeats. So it's really important to do the work in between relationships to identify this, and you're not going to cure narcissism on your own. And it's near to impossible. It's so difficult. It's so challenging because anything that relates to toxic shame is narcissism. So anytime you think a nasty thought or hear a nasty sorry, not hear a nasty thought, or express a judgment against someone, any kind of toxic behavior is an expression of narcissism because it's all related to the pain of love. It's all related to that. That's why I say it's the root of all evil. It's really profound, and I'm going to have to do so many videos to open this up because it's such a big topic. So there's loads of ways to learn about narcissism. There's plenty of books, and there's a woman called Dr. Ramani on YouTube who does a lot of good stuff around narcissism. But what I've found with people, especially psychotherapists who teach narcissism, they don't teach about owning it, identifying it in yourself. They kind of, in order to get clicks, it's a bit clickbaity. They tend to say, this is what a narcissist does to you, and they paint them as the villain, as the enemy. But you have to understand that not only is everybody a narcissist, not only are you a narcissist, but villains are created by villains, and narcissism is created by narcissism. So there has to be some form of compassion. I'm not saying condone that behavior, but there has to be compassion. And that is Christ consciousness. This is where we're heading, and this is how we have to get there. We have to get there. Past relationships reflect unhealed parts of yourself. So this is what I've been saying. When you're working with the opposite sex, he is a mirror for you. And when you're on your own, you have to mirror yourself against others or yourself. And so meditation is a great way of mirroring against yourself and looking inward. But essentially, if you are feeling like a feeling rejection, sexual rejection from a woman, if you're a man from a woman, then there is a past relationship there from your mother. And I don't mean sexual relationship, of course. I mean your abandonment wound. And this is really karmic. It's really soul based and it's blood based. It's a really deep and dark wound, which will show up in your relationships, but it will be less strong if you had a healthy upbringing, but that's pretty rare. Um, Healing and making different choices breaks the patterns. Yeah. So I did a podcast on the coyote, I think. It's about breaking patterns, really intelligent animal, about understanding how to break the patterns. And because I was speaking about the breaking the cycle of narcissism, it's really very much like that, the coyote energy. It takes you off course to screw your life up, essentially, so that you can learn the lesson. But there has to be a point where you say, "Oh, I've had enough of screwing my life up. I need to come back on my path and stick to my path." And that's why it's one of the most difficult things to heal. It's challenging. That's why the I think the natives call it the devil, the coyote, because it's so profoundly challenging. But it's a really powerful teacher. Yeah, inner work creates better external relationships because what is healed within you is healed outside of you in the mirror. And the best way to integrate this, and I teach this in my plant medicine integration videos, is through creation. So even if you can't create, learn. Like I'm learning to draw, and by drawing out something or writing out something, I'm bringing it out of me and into the world. And I talk about this in my sharing the voice video. It's also to do with the voice. If you're someone that suffers in pity and depression and you don't speak about it, it's going to stay in. But if you speak it, it comes out, and that's a form of healing. It's a very powerful form of healing, if not the most powerful. The voice is who we are. It's an expression of our soul. It's an expression of who we are. It's so profound. And if you can find someone to hold you professionally in non-judgment, where things are not taken personally but are felt, and you can express all of that shame without fear of judgment, you just change your life and you just heal so fast. And this is what I did with my partner. We spoke, no exaggeration, at least 8 hours a day for 1,000 days straight. She was in another country, and so we used to do it over Zoom. And it was amazing because no matter what we said, we always say it's personal, but it's not personal. So if I had a judgment against her, say, oh, this is what my ego feels about you because of this reason, and then she wouldn't take it personally, but she would feel it personally and say, oh, this brings up this in me. So breaking the cycle of toxic behavior is really about expressing yourself. And the more you express in a held space the toxicities to get them out, just to acknowledge them, the more room you have for all the good stuff, all your soul stuff, all the dreams and all the love. So I hope this has been really helpful. But if you have any questions about anything spiritual or the healing journey or love, divine union, healing, spirit animal wisdom, please just put it in the comments. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.